The voicemail from my brother came at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. His voice shook with something between panic and rage. "Call me back immediately. Mom did something insane. The house, our house, she sold it." I sat up in bed, my heart pounding against my ribs. Our childhood home, the house Dad built with his own hands before he died. I replayed the message 3 times, certain I'd misheard, but the words stayed the same. My phone buzzed with a text. She didn't even tell us. "Found out from a neighbor, call me." My hands trembled as I dialed his number. When he answered, I could hear his girlfriend trying to calm him in the background. "Tyler," I said quietly. "What are you talking about?" His bitter laugh cut through the phone. "Mom sold the house to some developer. Papers signed yesterday. She's moving to Florida with Gerald, her new husband of 8 months, a man we'd met exactly twice." I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the house on Maple Street, the wooden porch Dad refinished every summer, the kitchen where Mom taught me to bake cookies after school, the backyard where Tyler and I built forts and caught fireflies in glass jars. Dad died 6 years ago from a sudden heart attack. He was only 53. Before he passed, he always said that house would stay in our family forever. "This is your inheritance," he told us during Sunday dinners. Not just the building, but the memories, the love we built here. Mom had seemed to agree back then. She cried at his funeral and promised to keep everything exactly as he'd left it. But then Gerald appeared last year, a retired salesman with a boat and a condo in Tampa. Suddenly, Mom talked about fresh starts and new adventures. She stopped mentioning Dad altogether. Still, I never imagined she'd do this, sell our home without a word to her own children. The next morning I called Mom. She answered on the 5th ring, her voice too cheerful. "Sweetheart, how are you?" I didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Tyler says you sold the house, is that true?" Silence, then a small sigh. "I was going to tell you both this weekend. I wanted to do it in person." My jaw tightened. "You already signed the papers. That's not telling us, that's informing us after it's done." She made a dismissive sound. "Don't be dramatic, honey, it's just a house." "Your father would want me to be happy. Just a house." Those words burned in my chest. "Dad built that house for our family. He wanted us to have it." Mom's voice turned cold. "Well, your father isn't here anymore. I am, and I need to think about my future now. Gerald and I are starting fresh in Florida. The money from the sale will help us buy something nice down there." I felt sick. "How much are you selling it for?" Mom hesitated before answering. $230,000, it's a fair price." I almost laughed. Fair? That house was worth at least $350,000 in today's market. Dad had bought the land for almost nothing 30 years ago and built every room himself. The neighborhood had grown into one of the most desirable areas in town. She was practically giving it away. "Who's buying it?" I demanded. "A development company called Prestige Properties. They're going to renovate it and flip it, or maybe tear it down for new construction. I don't really know. Gerald handled most of the details." Of course he did. Gerald, who'd never met my father. Gerald, who didn't know that Dad planted the oak tree in the front yard the day I was born. Gerald, who didn't care that this house held 30 years of our family's history. "When do they take possession?" I asked, my voice tight. "End of the month," Mom said. 3 weeks from now." After I hung up, I sat in my apartment staring at nothing. My mind raced through memories. Birthday parties in that backyard, Christmas mornings around the fireplace, Dad teaching me to ride a bike in the driveway, Tyler and I making snow angels on the front lawn, all of it sold to strangers for less than it was worth. Then something shifted inside me. A strange calm replaced the anger, because Mom didn't know something important. 3 months ago, I'd been contacted by a lawyer named Mr. Peterson. He'd called me out of the blue one afternoon. "Miss Brennan," he'd said in a formal tone, "I'm handling your late father's estate. There's a matter that needs your attention." I'd been confused. Dad's estate had been settled years ago. Everything went to Mom, but Mr. Peterson explained that Dad had set up something else, something Mom didn't know about, a trust, and that trust changed everything about who really owned our house. The meeting with Mr. Peterson had happened on a cold Monday morning in January. His office smelled like leather and old books. He was a thin man with kind eyes and grey hair. He slid a folder across his desk toward me. "Your father came to see me about 8 months before he passed away," Mr. Peterson explained. "He wanted to protect the family home. He had concerns." I'd opened the folder with shaking hands. Inside were legal documents, property records, and a letter in Dad's handwriting. My throat tightened seeing his familiar scrawl. "Your father established a living trust," Mr. Peterson continued. "He transferred the deed of the house into that trust. Your mother has the right to live there for as long as she wants, but she doesn't actually own it. You and your brother do." I'd stared at him, not understanding. "What does that mean exactly?" Mr. Peterson leaned forward. It means you're. Dad's letter had explained everything. I'd read it 5 times that day in Mr. Peterson's office, tears streaming down my face. My dearest daughter, it began. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you this in person, but I need you to understand why I did what I did. I love your mother with all my heart, but I know her. She's impulsive. She makes decisions based on emotion, not logic. After I'm gone, she might meet someone new. She might want to start over. And I'm afraid she might sell our home without thinking about what it means to you and Tyler. This house is my legacy. It's proof that I was here, that I built something lasting for my children, so I've protected it. The house belongs to you and Tyler now, held in trust. Your mother can live there forever if she chooses, but she can't sell it, not without your permission. Take care of each other. Love always, Dad. Mr. Peterson had given me time to process everything. Then he'd explained the technical details. Dad had created what's called a life estate for Mom. She had the right to use the property until she died or chose to leave, but the actual ownership, the deed, belonged to the trust, and Tyler and I were the beneficiaries. Why didn't Mom know about this? I'd asked. Mr. Peterson had adjusted his glasses. Your father asked me to keep it confidential. He didn't want to hurt her feelings or make her feel like he didn't trust her. He hoped she'd never try to sell, but if she did, the trust would protect the property. Now, 3 months later, I understood why Dad had been so careful. Mom was trying to sell our house to fund her new life with Gerald, but legally she couldn't, because she didn't own it. I did. I'd called Mr. Peterson immediately after talking to Mom. She's trying to sell, I'd told him. What do we do? Mr. Peterson's voice had been calm and professional. The sale cannot legally proceed. The title company will discover during their search that your mother doesn't hold clear ownership. The deal will fall through. I'd felt a strange mix of relief and dread. Should I tell her? There was a pause. That's your decision. But understand this, when the sale collapses, she'll find out anyway. The lawyers will inform her that the property is held in trust. I'd thanked him and hung up. Then I'd called Tyler. My brother had been shocked, then angry, then grateful. Dad knew, he'd said, his voice thick with emotion. He knew she'd try something like this. We'd agreed to wait, to let the sale process play out, to let Mom discover the truth on her own. Maybe that made us cruel, but she tried to sell our father's legacy without even telling us. She'd chosen Gerald over our family's history. She deserved to face the consequences of her choices. 2 weeks passed. Mom called me once to say she'd be coming by to get some things from the house. Just personal items, she'd said breezily. The buyers are doing a final walkthrough next week. I'd bitten my tongue and said nothing. Tyler reported that Mom had also called him, asking if he wanted any furniture before the new owners took possession. He'd declined, his voice cold. Mom had complained to him that we were being difficult. You too need to accept change, she told him. Your father wouldn't want you holding on to the past. Tyler had almost told her the truth then, but I'd convinced him to wait. Let her find out from the lawyers, I'd said. Let her see what Dad really thought about her decisions. Meanwhile, I'd been busy with my own plans, because now that I legally owned half the house, I could do something I'd been dreaming about for years, something that would honor Dad's memory properly. On Wednesday afternoon, my phone rang with an unknown number. I answered cautiously. Miss Brennan, this is Amanda Cross from Prestige Properties. We're purchasing your mother's home on Maple Street. My heart started racing. Yes, her voice sounded confused and frustrated. We've encountered an issue with the title. Our lawyers discovered the property is held in a trust. Your mother doesn't actually have the authority to sell. We'll need signatures from you and your brother to proceed with the transaction. I let the silence stretch for a moment, then I said quietly, I'm not signing anything. Amanda Cross made a small noise of surprise. Excuse me. That house belonged to my father. He built it with his own hands. He put it in a trust to protect it. I'm not letting it be sold to developers who'll tear it down or flip it for profit. Her tone shifted to professional firmness. Miss Brennan, your mother has already accepted our offer. We have contracts. I kept my voice steady. Your contracts are worthless. Check with your lawyers. My mother can't sell property she doesn't own. The deal is off. Amanda Cross tried to argue. She mentioned legal obligations and potential lawsuits. I let her talk. When she finally ran out of steam, I said simply, send any legal threats you want. My father's estate lawyer will handle them. This house isn't for sale. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt powerful, strong. Like I was finally standing up for Dad the way he'd stood up for us our whole lives. 10 minutes later, Tyler called. Prestige Properties just contacted me, he said, sounding stunned. They're furious. They said Mom lied about owning the house. I smiled grimly. She didn't lie, she just didn't know the truth. That evening, my phone exploded with messages from Mom. First came texts asking me to call her urgently, then voicemails, her voice rising from confused to angry to desperate. I didn't respond to any of them. The next morning, Mom showed up at my apartment. I'd just finished breakfast when the buzzer rang. Her voice came through the intercom, sharp and demanding. "Let me in, we need to talk, now." I buzzed her up, my stomach tight with nerves. When I opened the door, she pushed past me into the living room. Her face was red, her eyes blazing. "What did you do?" she hissed. "The sale fell through. Prestige Properties is threatening to sue me. They say I tried to sell property I don't own. They're calling me a fraud." I closed the door slowly. "You don't own it, Mom, you never did." She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. "What are you talking about? That's my house. Your father left everything to me." I walked to my desk and pulled out a copy of the trust documents Mr. Peterson had given me. "Dad put the house in a trust 3 months before he died. You can live there as long as you want, but you can't sell it." Mom snatched the papers from my hands. Her eyes scanned the pages, growing wider with each line. "This can't be real. He wouldn't do this to me." Her voice cracked. "Why would he do this?" I felt a wave of sadness mixed with anger. "Because he knew you, Mom. He knew you'd want to move on eventually, and he wanted to protect what he built for us, for me and Tyler." She looked up at me and I saw something ugly cross her face. Rage, pure undiluted rage. "You selfish little brat, you ruined my sale. Gerald and I had plans. We were going to buy a condo in Florida, start our new life, and you destroyed it." I stood my ground. "Dad built that house for our family, not for you to sell so you can run off with some man we barely know." Mom's hand flew up. For a second I thought she might actually hit me, but she stopped herself, trembling with fury. "I'm your mother. That house should be mine to do with as I please." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Dad didn't see it that way. And legally the house belongs to me and Tyler now. We're the ones who get to decide what happens to it." Mom's face twisted. "So what? You're just going to keep it empty? Let it rot. Neither of you even lives there." This was the moment I'd been planning for. The moment when I'd reveal what I'd really been doing for the past 3 months. "Actually, I've been making other arrangements," I said quietly. "I'm buying out Tyler's half. The house will be entirely mine, and I'm moving back in." Mom's mouth fell open. "You're what?" "I'm moving home, Mom, back to Maple Street, back to the house Dad built." She laughed, but it sounded hysterical. "You can't afford that. You work at a bookstore. You barely make enough to pay rent on this tiny apartment." I smiled. "I've been saving for 6 years, ever since Dad died. Every extra dollar went into an account, and I took out a small loan for the rest." The truth was more complicated than I'd told Mom. After Dad died, I'd thrown myself into work. I'd started as a clerk at Henderson Books, but I'd worked my way up to assistant manager, then manager. Mr. Henderson, the owner, was getting ready to retire. Last year, he'd offered to sell me the business. I'd been saving every penny, living cheap, eating rice and beans most nights. The life insurance money Dad left me sat untouched in a savings account. I'd been waiting for the right moment to use it. When Mr. Peterson told me about the trust, everything clicked into place. I talked to the bank, worked out a loan, made an offer to Tyler for his half of the house. He'd agreed immediately, saying he'd rather I have it than see it sold to strangers. The numbers worked. Barely, but they worked. I'd own the bookstore and the house. Dad's legacy and my future combined into one. Mom stared at me like I was a stranger. "You planned this. You've been planning this for months." "I've been planning it for years," I corrected. "Ever since Dad died and you started talking about moving away, I knew eventually you'd try to leave, and I couldn't let our home go to strangers." She shook her head slowly. "Gerald was right about you. He said you were manipulative, always playing the victim, always using your father's memory to control me." That stung more than I expected. "I'm not trying to control you, Mom. You're free to move to Florida, live with Gerald, start your new life, but you can't do it with money from selling Dad's house." Mom's eyes filled with tears, but they looked more like tears of rage than sadness. "I needed that money, do you understand? Gerald and I can't afford the condo without it. I'll have to keep working, keep living in this godforsaken town." I felt a flicker of guilt, but I pushed it down. "Get a smaller place in Florida. Or stay here, those are your choices." Mom grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Before she left, she turned back to me. "You'll regret this. When you're my age and alone because you drove everyone away with your stubbornness, you'll understand what you did to me today." The door slammed behind her. I stood in the empty apartment, my heart pounding. Part of me wanted to run after her, to apologize, to make it right. But the bigger part of me, the part that remembered Dad's calloused hands building that house board by board, knew I'd done the right thing. That evening, Tyler came over with pizza and beer. "Mom called me," he said, dropping onto my couch. "She's furious. She said you're stealing her future." I took a long drink of beer. She tried to steal our past. Tyler nodded. Gerald called too, threatened legal action, said we'd manipulated Dad when he was vulnerable. I rolled my eyes. Dad was perfectly healthy when he set up the trust. He was thinking clearly. He was protecting us. Over the next week, things got messier. Gerald hired a lawyer to challenge the trust. They claimed Dad had been under duress or mentally unfit when he created it. Mr. Peterson assured me the case had no merit. The trust is ironclad, he said. Your father worked with me for months to make sure everything was legal and proper. He had a full mental health evaluation done specifically to prevent this kind of challenge. Still, the lawsuit was stressful. Mom stopped speaking to me entirely. She blocked my number. When I tried to visit the house on Maple Street to start planning my move, I found the locks changed. I had to call Mr. Peterson again. He sent a legal letter to Mom explaining that she couldn't lock me out of property I legally owned. She had to provide access or face legal consequences herself. 3 days later, I received a key in the mail. No note, just the key in a plain envelope. When I finally walked back into that house, I cried. Everything was exactly as I remembered. The worn floorboards Dad had installed, the kitchen counters he tiled himself, the brick fireplace he'd built the winter I turned 7, but the house felt sad, empty, like it was grieving too. I walked through each room slowly, running my hands along the walls. In the master bedroom, I found boxes packed with Mom's things. She was really leaving, really choosing Gerald and Florida over this place, over us. In my old bedroom, my childhood drawings still hung on the walls. Dad had framed them carefully, treating my crayon scribbles like museum art. Tyler's room still had his soccer trophies on the shelves. I sat on the floor of the living room and called Tyler. I'm at the house, I told him. It feels wrong without everyone here. He was quiet for a moment. It'll feel right again once you move in, once you make it yours. Dad would want that. I wiped my eyes. I hope so. The legal battle dragged on for another month. Gerald's lawyer kept filing motions, trying to find some loophole to invalidate the trust. But Mr. Peterson was right. Dad had been thorough, every document was perfect, every signature properly witnessed. Finally, Gerald's lawyer admitted defeat. The trust would stand. Mom could live in the house or leave, but she couldn't sell it. Ever. 2 days later, I got a call from Mom. Her voice was tired and flat. I'm leaving next week. Gerald found us a smaller condo in Tampa. It'll be tight, but we'll manage. I didn't know what to say. Mom, you don't have to leave. You can stay in the house as long as you want. That's what the trust says. She laughed bitterly. Live in a house owned by my daughter. Watch you play happy homemaker in the place I spent 30 years. No, thank you. The line went quiet. Then she said softly, your father would be so disappointed in you. Those words haunted me for days. Was Dad disappointed? Had I been selfish? Should I have just let Mom sell the house and move on? But then I'd remember Dad's letter, his words about protecting his legacy, about making sure the house stayed in the family. He'd known Mom would want to leave eventually. He'd prepared for this exact situation. I wasn't betraying him. I was honoring him. The day Mom moved out, I wasn't there. I couldn't watch her pack up 30 years of memories and drive away. Tyler went to help her load the truck. He called me afterward, sounding exhausted. She cried the whole time, he said. Gerald kept trying to comfort her, but she just kept crying. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Did she say anything about me? Tyler hesitated. She said she doesn't have a daughter anymore. I hung up and let myself cry. Really cry for the first time since this all began, because even though I'd won, it felt like losing. I moved into the house on a sunny Saturday in May. Tyler helped me carry boxes. A few friends from the bookstore came to help paint and clean. We worked all day, laughing and joking, trying to make the house feel alive again. But that night after everyone left, I sat alone in the living room. The silence was heavy. I thought about Mom in Florida, probably arranging furniture in her small condo. I thought about Dad, gone for 6 years now, still somehow protecting us from beyond the grave. I pulled out my phone and looked at the last text Mom had sent before blocking me. It was from 3 months ago, before everything exploded. Love you, sweetheart, hope you're doing well. I typed a response, even though I knew she wouldn't see it. I love you too, Mom. I'm sorry it had to be this way, but I'm keeping Dad's dream alive. I hope someday you'll understand. I hit send, watching the message fail to deliver. Then I turned off my phone and looked around the house. 6 months have passed since I moved back to Maple Street. The house is starting to feel like home again. I've repainted the kitchen in soft yellow, the color Dad always wanted but never got around to. I've filled the rooms with furniture from thrift stores and yard sales, mixing old and new. The bookstore is doing well. Mr. Henderson officially retired last month, and I threw a party to celebrate. He gave a speech about how proud he was to leave his business in good hands. I thought about Dad during that speech, about how he'd built something lasting too. Tyler visits every Sunday for dinner. We cook in Dad's kitchen and eat at the table he made from reclaimed wood. Sometimes we talk about Mom. She's still in Florida, still not speaking to either of us. Gerald's sister told Tyler that Mom seems happy enough, that she's made friends in her condo complex, that she and Gerald take walks on the beach every evening. I want to be happy for her. Most days I am. But some nights I still feel guilty. Last week something unexpected happened. A letter arrived from Florida, Mom's handwriting on the envelope. My hands shook as I opened it. "Dear daughter," it began. "I've spent 6 months being angry at you, angry at your father, angry at the whole situation, but my therapist here has helped me see things differently. Your father loved me. He built that house for our family out of love, and he protected it out of love too. You're doing the same thing he did. Protecting what matters, honoring his memory. I'm not ready to forgive you yet, maybe I never will be, but I understand now why you did what you did. And maybe in some small way I'm proud of you. You're stronger than I ever was. Take care of that house, it was your father's heart. Now it's yours. Love, Mom." I read the letter 5 times. Then I walked to Dad's old workshop in the garage. His tools still hung on the wall where he'd left them. I ran my fingers over the worn handles and whispered, "We did it, Dad. We kept it in the family."